All right, so we're doing a little bit of an autograph Q&A here. I'm just gonna share the stream out. So if you guys have questions about autographs in general, collecting autographs through the mail, or doing fan mail, going to a convention, that kind of thing. I've been doing autograph collecting for I'd say about 15 years now, so I've got a lot of experience in the hobby. I can answer questions about how to identify fakes or what's the best way for storage, depending on what you guys want to talk about or how you want to learn. I'm really just here to help today. So if you guys have questions or want to talk about a specific topic, I'm game for whatever. Personally, what I'm really looking forward to, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas, and we have a really big convention coming up, the Superhero Car Show and Comic Con. And they just announced that Elizabeth Olsen is going to be there, and she's going to be one of the headlining guests. So the ticket sales just went live today. They're already actually halfway sold out, and they've only been live for about 4.5 hours. So if Elizabeth Olsen is someone that you're interested in, you can potentially do a send-in order. I know there's some people who are doing send-ins if you can't make it to San Antonio, although I know there's plenty of people out there who are flying in from across the country for this convention because it's got a lot of really great guests coming on there. So I'm personally going to be doing something from Elizabeth Olsen's new show, Love and Death. Basically, I was actually a background actor on that show. If you've seen the new show on HBO, then you might be familiar with it. But it was filmed here in Texas, and it's about basically a Texas housewife in the 1980s, and she's basically a church-going lady, picks up an axe and murders her friend, that kind of thing. And I was in one of the scenes where there was a funeral, so I have a program from the funeral, like it's a prop from the set, right? And I basically I grifted it a little bit. Wasn't supposed to take them, but I actually wound up taking a couple of those home. So I'd like to get her to sign that actually. So I'm going to be meeting her there at Superhero Car Show and Comic Con, and I got one autograph. It was about like $250 for the autograph itself, which was, pricey for sure. But she's a really big celebrity, definitely highly requested, highly sought after right now. So I wouldn't really expect any less from her. Certainly, the way that autograph prices are, it could have been a lot more, I think. So I think 250 was probably pretty fair. A little bit less for her photo op. I got the photo op and the autograph going on there, so I'm looking forward to that. Now, typically at a convention, when you're meeting a celebrity there, you probably have at max about, I would say, a minute at their table, like a minute if you're lucky, honestly. So you get in front of them, you give them their item. It takes them a little bit of time to sign it. You have some pleasantries, basically going back and forth. You can get like a couple sentences in there, which is basically about it. And then, during the photo op, it's even shorter. Like, I remember with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I was out there, I met him, I was in and out like in a second. It was almost like 10 seconds at most. Like I got out of it and I didn't even know what was happening, really. So the experience that you get at a convention just isn't like insanely in depth and memorable a lot of the time because it's so brief. But I'm going to try and maximize it. Like, I'm going to go in with something kind of pre-planned out that I want to say. Definitely going to be talking about how I was on the show with her, and I'm going to give her the prop from the set, and hopefully can have some good conversation started with Elizabeth Olsen over that. So I guess we'll see. But today we're basically just talking about all things autograph related. So if you have an autograph question, how to collect it, that kind of thing, which autographs are desirable, like how one obtains autographs, which sources are reputable, that kind of thing, let me know. I'm basically here to help you guys improve your collections and do better with that. So so going on to some other great things that are coming up. Now there's one of the challenges, I guess, is that the WGA strike, the Writers Guild strike, is having a big impact on movie productions right now. And I do a lot of through the mail autograph requests. So it's like fan mail, where you're sending a fan letter, but there's also this added element of you're asking for an autograph. And I'll do a lot of sending directly to movie sets where the actors are going to be Because a lot of times if you're sending fan mail and you're just like writing to an agent or something like that, maybe they're going to pass on your fan mail, maybe not. But if you write to a set, there's a good chance that it'll just go directly to the actor. You can like bypass the agent, and it can be a pretty good time. So, but one of the problems is the WGA strike is putting a lot of productions on hold. Like right now, I was going to be sending to the Stranger Things set. There's a lot of actors on there that I was going to be writing to and requesting an autograph from. But unfortunately, that's one of the shows that is on strike due to the writers striking for that. And basically, what's going on there is the studios are asking for the writers to work less and less hours. They're being turned into like gig workers, kind of like an Uber driver, that kind of thing, where they work, like a gig, which is not on a set schedule. Sometimes they're only working a couple of hours as needed per episode type thing. And they're not getting very good royalties either. And also there's a big problem with AI where apparently the studios are wanting to reserve the right where they can write scripts with AI. And the guild is basically saying, no, like that's not going to fly. Like you need to have actual writers on the payroll and doing these scripts, which I mean, I think is totally reasonable, but apparently the studios don't think so. So I mean, and this is like basically the big streaming studios like Netflix, Hulu, all of these Disney Plus, all these guys who are just raking in the money right now, but refuse to pay the writers a living wage. Like a lot of these guys are having trouble paying the bills whatsoever. I mean, some of them are doing fine, like some of the bigger names for sure, but like a lot of the average writers are just not doing so great. And so they're on strike right now, striking for better wages and all that kind of stuff. But what that means is that if a production is going on and doesn't have a script already written out, like if the script isn't totally finished, then they can't film basically. But if there's a script that's done and finished, then they can go off of that. They just can't do revisions or anything like that. So some productions are choosing to kind of plow forward through the WGA strike and go on. Like even like the actors, they can't even improvise or anything. So if production thinks that the script is good enough that they can stick strictly to the script, then they should be good to go. But a lot of productions like Stranger Things and Beetlejuice 2, a lot of these like big high profile productions, even some of the Marvel productions, like the new Blade reboot that's coming up. And I think there was definitely another MCU production that was put on hold. So I'm not able to write as many via venue autograph requests sent directly to the production studio. So, all right, looking at comments here. What type of letters do you have to write to get an autograph? I'd really love to get some. So, if you've never written like a fan letter before, it's nothing like too crazy. Basically, you're just writing you can do it like however you want it, I suppose. But how I do it is I'll like do a brief introduction section, talk a little bit about myself and, what my interests are, like what about their work interests me and what I appreciate about them. Sometimes I'll talk a little bit about them in a little bit more in depth if they support like some kind of a social cause that I also back, or like they're politically active and they're supporting something that I'm a backer of. Then I'll also like encourage them to keep doing that kind of stuff. I'll go into like read their interviews and like see what kind of person they are so I can incorporate elements to make it as personal as possible. But at the end of the day, I mean, basically you're just writing a letter saying, hey, I'm a fan. And you send something to them to get signed, like a photo. I do a lot of index cards because they're small, easy to ship, and like super cheap. So, and also they display really nice, so you can put them into a frame, just frame the signature up with a nice bigger picture, and it looks like really good too. So you just basically say, hey, I'm a fan. Can you please sign this? And you send it off along with a return envelope. So this is going to be a smaller envelope inside the envelope that you're sending out. And it's going to have your return address as the destination address. And it's going to have a stamp, depending on if you're sending a photo or if you're just sending an index card. you're just sending an index card, just a regular first stamp or first class stamp is good. If you're sending something larger like a photo, then you're going to have to pay like about $1.50-ish to get your return postage, but you can calculate that at your post office. They'll help you out with that. Yeah, you definitely got to remember the SACE, the self-addressed stamped envelope. And even when you're sending out of country, so if like I'm here in the US, if I'm sending to somebody in the UK, it's really best practice for me to first acquire postage from the Royal Mail, which is the UK's post office, and then put that on there, because anything that you can do in order to make the process easier for the celebrity, the better. Because if they get your letter and they have an inclination assigned for you, they may, that may only go so far. Like maybe they are willing to sign, stick it in an envelope and put it in the mailbox, but they're not willing to go sign it, go to the post office, buy a stamp, and find their own item to sign or all that kind of stuff. So whatever you can do to take the burden off of the celebrity, since you are asking them to do something for you for free, which a lot of the time, like I was saying with Elizabeth Olsen, like she charges like $250 for an autograph at a convention. But if you're sending her fan mail asking her to sign for you, then you're basically asking her to do it for free. So, I mean, it's only right that you make it as easy on her as possible, or whoever you're writing, and include a return envelope with return postage, address it, get it all ready so that all they have to do is sign it, seal the envelope, and put it in the mailbox, and just make their life a little bit easier. So, all right, I've got a couple questions here. How do acting agencies deal with fan mail? I sent art and drew on the envelope. This is from Philip. So it really depends on the agency, like 100% on the agency. Some agencies are very good. They forward it depends. Sometimes they'll forward it on to the celebrity so they can deal with it directly. Sometimes some agencies will have the celebrity sign basically like a stack of photos, and instead of the celebrity just responding to each one, like the secretary will be there. They'll take a real authentic photo signed by the celebrity and they'll stick it into an envelope and return it back to you. And then other times, they'll just not forward the stuff at all and throw it into the trash. So it really kind of depends on what agency that we're talking about here. Some are a lot better than others. Some are just kind of notoriously really bad with fan mail. So it all totally depends. And that's one of the reasons why I like to do the via venue, sending it to the movie set, because you can just, bypass the agent a lot of the times. So, but you don't really know until you try, basically. So you pretty much just got to try. And it's okay if you try one agency. A lot of these times, these celebrities, they have multiple, like even 5 or more agencies. Could be like a talent agency, someone doing their personal appearances. They can have a manager, they can have a legal representative, a whole bunch of different things, right? So these are different representatives that are, representing them. So you can try each one of these different agencies and until you get some luck. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of persistence and a little bit of luck. But agencies can be tricky. And if you know someone who just is really bad at passing them on, eventually you're probably just going to stop sending to them, to that agency. All right. Are athletes or wrestlers easier than actors? I would say generally, yes, they are. So, it depends. Like a really hot athlete and a really hot celebrity might both be pretty hard to get. Likewise, someone who has been out of the spotlight, like say a retired athlete, or a former Olympian, someone like that, as compared to somebody like an actor who had their hit show in the 80s and who really has kind of fallen out of the spotlight. Those people will be easier. So and it's kind of hard to say if all athletes are generally easier than celebrities. I would just basically say it's the fame that matters. How hot is that person right now? Because the more popular a celebrity or an athlete is, like a Michael Jordan or an Elizabeth Olsen, are going to be really hard to get a response from, because they get a huge volume of fan mail because they're in the popular consciousness. They're front of mind for everybody. So yeah, if if people are thinking about them, they're watching their movies, they're seeing them on TV, playing in the big games, then they're going to be writing to them more frequently um, than, hey Tanner, than somebody who is, out of the spotlight. Their fame is kind of already passed, and now they're in retirement. So a lot of like the athletes that are in retirement are like super good to write through the mail. Like for instance, I'm actually writing to Lee Trevino right now. I'm just waiting on a couple of NES manuals. So he did for the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Lee Trevino, who was a professional golfer, did Lee Trevino's Fighting Golf. So I'm waiting on a couple of manuals to come in the mail that I got on eBay. I'm going to send those out, and like he's been signing them, like, well, not just that, but golf balls, like all kinds of stuff. He's been signing really quick, very quick turnaround. I think he was somewhere around the Dallas area, so it should be even quicker for me since I'm in San Antonio. So I think that's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. But yeah, there's like a ton of athletes and even wrestlers too, for sure, who are pretty easy to get, for sure. Let's see. All right. Cactus Chris asked if I've had any luck getting autographs in person. So my buddy Brian Calloway, he's like really big into the autograph scene right now. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are touring. They're in San Antonio, where I am, and he's been following them around, chasing them for an autograph. And he's, all over the place getting autographs. But I've got 2 little kids and a full-time job and a wife. So I don't have a lot of time to be running around and chasing people. And the thing is, like, you can be waiting out there for 12 hours sometimes, just like all freaking day, waiting for an athlete or a celebrity to exit whatever hotel or airport or venue that they're at, hoping for an autograph. And sometimes you just come up empty-handed. And I don't know if it's really, I don't know how much money he could be actually making off of it. Like, given the time that they're investing into it and the return that they're getting, even if we get like a $200 autograph at the end of the day, like to me, it's probably not worth it for the most part. I'd rather just go on to one of the Facebook groups like Rack, where a lot of the people, the street graphers, hang out and sell the autographs they get after they've obtained them. And I'd rather just, save my time and effort a lot of the time and buy the autograph from them. Now, of course, it is great that they get the experience of meeting the celebrity on the street, but it's similar to a convention where it's not like they're out there hanging out with the fans or anything like that. It's like there's a line of autograph seekers and they have a pen and the photos are out and they just kind of go bam, 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 sign the stuff, and then they're out. So, while you do get the kind of extra added value of meeting the celebrity and maybe you get a selfie with them as well, the value there is not big enough for me to just wait around for 10 hours for somebody, for the most part. And there's like the one notable exception is I've mentioned Elizabeth Olsen a couple of times, but when she was here filming in Texas for Love and Death, I did go out on like a pretty big adventure trying to find her. And I did wind up finding her, found the set where they were filming, and I asked her for an autograph. And like, this was like the height of COVID. So it wasn't like necessarily kosher that I did that. And they kind of, she was like a second away from grabbing my pen and signing my photos. And then they kicked me off the set. So that was like a failed attempt. And that was my one and only attempt of street graphing. So unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of great stories to regale you guys with on that front. All right, Chris, what about handling getting props signed? Any experience with that? Yeah, props are definitely a huge thing to get signed. So, I mean, especially if you're going to a convention and you're going to be paying upwards of $100 for something, I would highly recommend getting a prop signed because it's going to have a lot of value. And if you're, for the most part, like with the send-in signing, the price of the autograph is probably going to vary depending on if it's an 8x10, the smaller item, it's going to be the lowest price. For a props, which is bigger, that's going to be the highest price because it's bulky, it requires extra packaging, all that kind of stuff. But usually when you're at a convention, the price typically is flat across the board. So if you're at a convention, you're getting something signed, the price is the same for an 8x10 or a giant sword or a statue. So If you're paying some big bucks to get something signed at a convention, definitely put some money in the item that you're getting signed and get like a statue or a sword. I think you're definitely getting a good return on that. So if you're getting a sword, typically on the blade is where the autograph would go. You don't typically want to do it on a hilt. Like the only exception to that would be one of these lightsaber hilts, which don't have a blade on them. It's just the hilt alone. So you really have no choice other than to get it on the lightsaber. But even then, I know a lot of people do like to get on the lightsaber. I would prefer a plaque. So I would prefer to have the lightsaber on a little stand with a plaque saying the celebrity name and getting the signature on the plaque. But that's, totally personal opinion. I would say a lot of people are very happy to get it on the hilt itself. The only problem with that is the hilts are quite uneven. They're like bumpy and have different surfaces and textures on them. So finding a good spot is like near impossible a lot of times on these lightsaber hilts. So what you get is just a signature that kind of looks ugly. Like you get like a nasty scribble on there, and you would have, I think, been a lot better served if you had gotten it on a plaque with a nice big space for them to sign. And you can get the full signature the way it's supposed to look, rather than something that just got plopped onto, an uneven surface that has transitions between materials and all that kind of stuff. So, unless you absolutely have to have it on the hilt of a lightsaber, I would not do that. And I've seen just give some thought to the placement, because when I met Arnold Schwarzenegger for his signing, when he came to here to San Antonio, I worked with a guy who also got him, and he had a really nice Conan the Barbarian statue. And I totally disagreed vehemently with his placement on it, because he decided to get the signature on the bottom of the statue. So when it was displayed, you couldn't tell that it was signed whatsoever. So I thought it was really kind of a wasted autograph, and they were not cheap. The package to get his autograph was $1,500. So I thought that was a real shame that he decided to put it there. But in general, the statues, you can put them on the base, just not on the bottom. And then usually you're going to want to use a Deco Color paint pen on those. And on the plaques themselves, if you have a plaque that you're getting signed, you can use the paint pen too, but typically people use a Sharpie on those. So you really want to consider the material that you're signing and what kind of pen to use on that. So if you go to talesfromthecollection.com, which is my website, I do have a pretty in-depth article on what kind of pen you should be using depending on the material and the item. So you might use a different pen on a poster as you would on a photo or a hockey puck, all that kind of stuff. And for the posters and photos, I did buy a whole slew of different pens from Amazon, and I tried them all out on photos and posters so that you can kind of get a feel of what it would look like, basically. And so I did kind of a review on those there. So you can go and head over to talesfromthecollection.com and search best pens, and that article will come right up. Yeah. All right. Chris is asking how old I was when I started chasing the dragon. Yeah. So, it is like an addiction, right? Autograph collecting you just can't stop. And it's also like a drug in the fact that it's just really freaking expensive too. And it's only getting more expensive, unfortunately. When I started, the prices just were nothing like they are today. And, back then I thought they were expensive still too, but, that's because I was in high school and I had a minimum wage job. So they were expensive to me. But now that I have a real job and I have some actual spending money, I yearn for the days of the $40 autograph at a convention, So, but yeah, to answer your question, I was, somewhere in high school, probably closer to freshman year, I would say. So, yeah, so it's been a while, and that was probably in the early 2000s. So that was in the early 2000s that I started collecting. And I really started off with Star Wars autographs in particular. So I've always been a Star Wars fan since I was probably 5 years old or so. And through the mail, there was really big through the mail community, specifically focused on Star Wars. So like a lot of the background actors and like some of the major people, even like Kenny Baker was really great with signing through the mail. I even got some replies from Carrie Fisher, and I've gotten a reply from Mark Hamill. So like a lot of the big actors, even, but like the depth that people would go into in the through the mail Star Wars hobby was like, it was like the third stormtrooper to the right in like some deleted scene. They, we would be asking them for an autograph, right? So, it was like I got all kinds of Star Wars autographs from people that you've never heard of. But it's still cool. Like, and like I wouldn't do that with a movie like The Last Jedi or one of the new Star Wars movies, but the original trilogy, I think it's such like a special piece of cinematic history that no matter what role you had in there, it is something special. And it was cool just to even go after these small little roles. And that's kind of what like fueled me into getting into the hobby. And like at first, I think I got the epiphany that like fan mail was a thing because I was watching the Antiques Roadshow, and someone brought in like their grandma's like old autograph album that they had gotten from like the Silver Age Hollywood movie celebrities, and brought it in and said, yeah, like my grandma used to do all this fan mail and would ask for these autographs. And I was like, well, I wonder if I can still do that. And apparently, even in 2023, it is still a thing. Like you can actually go out and contact these celebrities and get an autograph or a letter back or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. All right. Chris says, I'm literally about to start writing celebrities and it's your fault. I love your TikTok page. Well, yeah, sorry about that, man. But it is fun. It is a fun hobby, especially like when you get a response, like checking the mail. Like it's one of my favorite parts. Like I get off work and I go right to the mailbox and I check the mail looking for a response. So it's a lot of fun. And when you get the autograph back, you open it up and you see that they responded to you. It's a pretty cool feeling. So what I would say is that not only can you request an autograph, but like, and not only is it celebrities, but you can write to all kinds of people like historical figures and scientists, like people who have made big contributions, like CEOs, that kind of thing. And not only can you request an autograph, but you can do like a Q&A as well. And those could be really fun. So I'm kind of like into vintage computers. So I would like write Vint Cerf and some of these other computer pioneers. And not only would I ask them to sign something, but I'd ask them to fill out like a Q&A and ask about like their innovations and their contributions. So if you're writing a fan letter, maybe take some extra time and think about doing a Q&A, because it's really fun to get these responses back. A lot of times they're going to be handwritten onto the paper that you provide. Like I'll usually do like about 8 questions maybe at most, and I'll do 4 questions on a piece of paper, and I'll get like, so these 2 pages of like handwritten responses back. And it's been really fun to do that. Like authors are really great to do as well, that kind of thing. So, and if you're into, like I'm into Magic the Gathering and all kinds of art and stuff. So I'll write like some of the artists who do the cards, and I'll sometimes ask for a sketch. So I'll include like an index card and ask for a sketch, and a lot of times I'll get one. So I've gotten some like just incredible art back from these artists over the years, which maybe I'll make a dedicated video to some of that, because it's some of the stuff I've gotten is pretty like incredibly detailed and beautiful, and it's all just like given to me out of the kindness of these artists' hearts. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with through the mail. It's not necessarily just for autograph collecting, but that is the main focus for a lot of people. Yeah, the thrill is the chase. It's definitely like, and it is a chase. Like sometimes you just there's an address that works right away, you get a reply and it's cool, but sometimes you really got to dig to find an address. Like it's sometimes not as easy as just writing to the agency. You got to do a lot of research and find out like where a movie set is that they're going to be at, or a play. Sometimes you got to do like a white pages search, that kind of thing. So there's definitely a big part of the hunt in there. And like just the fact that you were able to get in contact with this person, they wrote you back, and had the success. So there's a lot of elements to the hobby, I guess you could say. Do you often give thought to the response? Um, like to their response, do I give thought to it? Yeah, a lot of the times I'll I'll go to, so I have the website Tales from the Collection, and a lot of times I'll do like an article based on their response. Like I'll put the Q&A on the website in the post, and I'll talk about the person, and just do a whole like write up about it, and kind of base an article around the interview questions. So yeah, oftentimes I will give a lot of thought to what they said to me, and I'm in the Navy, so sometimes I'll write to World War II vets and like Hiroshima bomb survivors. There's like a fun thing to write to, and to get their experience, because I think it's such like a awe-inspiring and incredible thing that they lived through. So these people who have lived through historic battles or like big moments in history, I will definitely ask them for their thoughts and opinions, and get some of their perspective on this historic event that they've lived through. And that it is definitely thought-provoking sometimes to get a peek through their eyes at these important events. So there's definitely a lot of thought that can be had when you get these responses, for sure. All right. Chris says he reads Stephen King a lot, and thought of writing him terrifies me, though. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how good Stephen King is at responding to fan mail, but I mean, as a writer, I can't help but think that he would appreciate somebody writing to him. Interestingly, I just posted on talesfromthecollection.com an article about, so he has a collection of novellas called If It Bleeds, and one of those novellas in the collection is being made into a movie starring Mark Hamill and Tom Hiddleston. So that's currently in active development. So I will definitely be writing to the set to try and get an autograph from Tom Hiddleston. If It Bleeds, yeah. Yeah, I'll be writing there to get the actors to sign something. Maybe you could try and write to the set and see if you can send your letter there. That's an idea. So if you go to talesfromthecollection.com, it's one of the, I think I just posted it yesterday. So it's at the top of the homepage right now. If you click it, you can go down and you can see the production studios there. And you can see a couple addresses that I added. So like whenever I write about a movie production, I definitely add the production studios that are involved with their addresses. So that really helps to for people involved with fan mail to write to the set. So I try and help any way I can with that kind of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, man. Yes, I mean, yeah, it kind of does take like a lot of dedication to the hobby. In order to like get like responses and stuff to post on TikTok, I mean, it does like, there's a lot of letters that I send out that just don't get a response. So what I post with a response is actually like, just a small fraction of the volume that I send out. So if you don't get a lot of responses, like, that's okay. I'm showing only the hits on here. I'm not showing any of the misses typically. So just keep trying. Like you gotta send some out and, shoot your shot. But like for me, I've been doing this hobby for a long time. So like the low hanging fruit, for the most part, has been picked for me. So there's people who, you write to, and it's basically like a guaranteed response because they're so good at responding to their fan mail. And, you can find out like who's a really good signer or not just by being involved in these, in like Facebook groups. Like there's a Tales from the Collection Facebook group where we share our successes, and you can see who's signing. So if you see someone who's currently signing and they've been signing a lot, like a lot of people are posting about them, like odds are your chances of getting a response from them as well are pretty good. So I would try and do that, honestly. Like, Stephen King might be a little bit hard to get, but shoot for somebody who you see has a proven track record of responding. And I do have like an article which is like 30 like best responders to fan mail. So a lot of those will kind of get you a feel for it. Like you can write to them, request an autograph, and you'll get something back, and like you kind of get to know like what the experience is like, and get your feet wet a little bit. And then you can start to go after some of the harder people, because it can be a little bit discouraging if you're like starting the fan mail hobby and requesting autographs only from top tier A-list celebrities who are very hard to get a response from. Like, if you're really dead set on getting a response from Johnny Depp, it's going to be hard. So if you're just writing to these kind of level of celebrities who don't necessarily have a great track record of responding, then it's going to be demoralizing because you're not going to get any responses. But if you're setting your sights a little bit lower to begin with, and you're writing to somebody who might not be currently in the spotlight anymore, who has kind of retired from acting or is a retired athlete, then your chances of getting a response from them are going to be a lot better. So I'd say do yourself a favor, give yourself a little bit of confidence boost, and write to some of these easier people, some of these easier targets for sure. All right, yeah. So you can join the Facebook group. Post any questions you have in there. There's a pretty good community who will help you. And if you don't get an answer, I'm always on there, so I can respond to you there for sure. All right. Gru asked me what the quickest response was. Fan mail can take usually a month is usually a quick response. I've definitely gotten some within about a week. But yeah, like a month is pretty quick. And then responses can take years, up to years sometimes, really. So unless you get your envelope returned to sender, like the same envelope that you sent out gets returned back to you, then you can't really give up hope, because sometimes fan mail gets I've heard so many times like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to respond to you. Like your letter was under a stack of papers and I just moved the papers 2 years later and I found your letter again. Or you hear stories about I remember a story about I think it was an NFL team who found like a big box of fan mail from like a decade ago. So sometimes these old letters surface and you get a response to them after a long time, and which sometimes is a big problem, because unless you're at the same house for a really long time, like they're going to respond to you years later and you might not even be there anymore. So you're going to miss out. So, and I've definitely had that happen. Like I did send a letter to the set of, I think it was The Last Jedi, one of the more recent Star Wars movies. And I wrote to Oscar Isaac, and I had recently moved. So the letter, when it came back to me, went to my old house, and it came directly from Disney, actually. And they had basically said, asked me to sign like a non-disclosure agreement, or I guess it was a release. They asked me to sign a release so that Oscar Isaac could read my letter on a video where the stars of Star Wars were reading fan mail aloud, basically, and reacting to it. And that letter went to my old house, and I went back there like 2 months after the letter had came, trying to like collect whatever mail I had, and they had held on to it. So I found the mail, and of course I had still reached out anyway, but the lady who had sent it, the secretary there, she thought it was already too late. And it wasn't until like a year after that I actually found the video. And it turns out that they didn't sign the disclosure. Oscar Isaac didn't read my letter, but he did react to it. Like I saw my letter in his hand, and I can tell it was mine because I used like a red seal next to my signature. And he was basically responding to it. And I had mentioned that my wife, she's of Guatemalan heritage. So I mentioned, and he's from Guatemala too. So I mentioned that. And, he had commented something about like, it was nice that he was, representing people of Guatemalan heritage. So he made direct reference to what I was saying in my letter, and it was still pretty cool. But it just goes to show that like sometimes the mail does come back years later, and then comes to your old address. So the more you can stay in one place, the better for this hobby, for sure. Chris, you're welcome for all the answers for sure. Um, yeah, I love helping people with a hobby. Like it's a lot of fun for me, and I love teaching people about it. Because like a lot of people, they don't even think that fan mail and like actually being able to contact these celebrities is possible. They think that basically like you have to pay $200 or more to meet them at a convention, and if you don't have the money, then too bad. But it is definitely possible to reach out to these people and get a response from them. Um, and especially like uh, if the celebrity is like newer, like I had a success recently, I guess last year with like Iman Vellani, plays Miss Marvel. So definitely, as soon as that show was announced, I wrote right to the set, and I wrote to the set, and I got a response from her, which was pretty great. Um, what is TTM? TTM is through the mail. Yeah, so it's a very common acronym. So I try not to use too many of the acronyms on my site just to not confuse people because the hobby is actually quite acronym rich. So TTM is through the mail, self-addressed stamped envelope, SASE, RTS, return to sender. Let's see. They'll use the acronym LOR, which is a letter of request, which is basically just your fan letter where you're asking to get an autograph. I'd say those are probably the main ones that you're gonna find. So, yeah, through the mail. Yep. Yeah. So in most of my posts and stuff, I try not to use too much of that verbiage, just because it's if you're new to the hobby, you're not going to know it, and it does confuse people. So, yeah, I get that, but I do have it on the Facebook group because it is a keyword that if you're familiar with a hobby, you're going to be searching for it. So that's why it's in the title of the Facebook group, for sure. Mm-hmm. Chris, do you have any autographs in your collection yet? I know you haven't started writing fan mail or anything, but have you ever gone to a convention and gotten an autograph or anything like that? Oh yeah, definitely shame that you missed on Robin Williams. I mean, he did do some signing through the mail. I was definitely into the hobby like when he was alive, but I never got the chance to actually write him, and I definitely wish that I had. Okay, Chris is into wrestling. Like, trying to think like who would be a good wrestler. Like, wrestling isn't something that I really follow too much. I know there's a lot of like I know it's not the same thing, but there's like a lot of MMA fighters who do sign through the mail, and I'm sure there's plenty of wrestlers as well. But I'm just like not familiar enough with the sport to give specific recommendations. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I think a lot of like autograph collectors get their start chasing athletes, like going to the games and stuff. Like, I mean, even like someone who might not be an autograph collector, probably if they're a sports fan, they probably have an experience of like going early to the practice or to warm up or whatever, to request an autograph from one of the players there. Like a lot of kids have that experience, so people have. It's one of like the introductions to autograph collection, one of the first ones that a lot of people get for sure. The dude that played Bruce Leroy in the Last Dragon movie used to get wasted with him and he'd sign anything. Yeah, that's funny. No, the Ultimate Warrior. Cool. So I assume you met him. That's cool. Yeah. And like now we're getting like a lot of wrestlers do attend conventions now. So last year Hulk Hogan was here in San Antonio, and people like Gravedigger and all those kinds of people. They're definitely showing up at conventions a lot more. So I'm not sure how well they are responding to fan mail per se, but more and more there's opportunities to kind of meet these people, get an autograph, do a photo op, that kind of thing. So I don't know where you're located, but a lot of like if you're in a major city, then there's probably a good chance that there's a convention somewhere near you where maybe one of these wrestlers might show up. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, yeah, so you're outside of New York, so I mean, you got the New York City Comic Con, which is definitely a huge convention, and I mean, I'm sure they have plenty of wrestlers that come there for sure, and definitely a lot of street graphing opportunities there. Like, New York and LA are like the two big kind of meccas for going out and getting a celebrity autograph on the street. So like if this is like a hobby that you really wind up getting into, sometimes people start off with like the conventions and the through the mail autograph collecting, and they'll kind of transition into the street graphing. And people, it's like a high for them because they're like out there waiting all day, and then like they get this adrenaline rush when they finally see the celebrity. And New York, they have all of the like late night talk shows and all that kind of stuff, so they get a lot of celebrities there, and you can kind of dependably and reliably wait outside of the building there for the celebrity to go in and out, and it's a pretty good opportunity to get photos and autographs with them. So you're definitely in a prime location for getting autographs in New York City, which is cool. I think because I'm here in Texas, so there's not like as many opportunities, but as I mentioned earlier, I got my buddy Brian Calloway of Autograph Alliance, and he's here in San Antonio too. And he doesn't get to do a whole lot of opportunities in San Antonio per se, but like between San Antonio and Austin, like he's out fairly regularly trying to get people like comedians or bands that are touring. Sometimes there's South by Southwest, which was just in March. They do a lot of movie premieres and that kind of stuff. So he was out there for a long time. Like I think the festival is like 9 days or something. Like I think it's more than a week. So he was out there for a long time trying to get autographs from a lot of these celebrities. So there are some opportunities here, but all the time in New York, you get those kinds of opportunities, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure being in a big city also has its own unique challenges as well. Like, and the fact that there's so many people there, and that it is a mecca. Like, there's competition there, and a lot of people, they kind of guard their autograph collecting secrets and they hold them close to the chest. So, you're right. There are some particular unique challenges there being in New York. All right. Nathan says, I send baseball players cards to autograph through the mail. Yeah, definitely. Cards are like one of my favorite things to send through the mail because like an index card, they're very small and compact. And the playing card, they have the extra added value of they're highly collectible by themselves. They have a lot of they have some intrinsic value to them already because they're collectibles and they're something that people are going to want to desire already. They've got a photo on them, so they look nice to display, and they're cheap usually. So I mean, of course, it depends on what kind of trading card you send out. Sometimes there's quite expensive trading cards, but in general, if you're getting like a common card, just like one of the base cards from a set, they cost next to nothing really. So they can be very, very cheap to send out. And a lot of people, when they're doing baseball cards, they'll like take a whole set, the 2023 set for Topps or whatever. They'll take the whole set and they'll try and get each player from that set. So they'll try and like complete the entire set and get every card in that set signed. I don't have a lot of familiarity with that with sports cards, but I do have it with Star Wars Galaxy cards, which is like just Star Wars cards that each card features a different piece of art from the Star Wars universe typically all by different artists. So I do try and like collect some of those sets. I'll write to the artist who contributed to that, and try and get the whole set of those from all the different artists, which has been really like fun and rewarding to get these cards signed. And I've gotten also a lot of cool art from that along the way. So that's been pretty cool. See, Chris wants to know if Jack Black responds. Technically yes, but no, not really. So he gets like secretarial responses. So I think his are either a pre-printed autograph or an auto pen. So I guess it's it's important to know that in the through the mail hobby, what you might possibly get. So in the perfect world, you would send your fan mail, and the celebrity would get it. They'd read it. They would sign your stuff and return it. So you would get an authentic autograph that way, right? But unfortunately, sometimes you don't get anything at all, or sometimes you get something that is not authentic. And there's like a whole bunch of different ways that you can get a non-authentic autograph. So sometimes you send your letter, the secretary gets it, and she just signs your photo, or the secretary just signs your photo, and using, if I'm sending it to Harrison Ford, then the secretary might, for example, just sign Harrison Ford on the photo. Now, Harrison Ford doesn't do secretarial signatures. Like 99.99% of the time, he does what's called a preprint. So this is basically you have like an image on your computer of a signed photo, and that is printed out with the signature already on it. So the photo is printed with a fake facsimile signature on it. So that's called a preprint. So typically, if you write to Harrison Ford, you get like a nice letter, small little letter saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, Harrison Ford doesn't have time to sign, but here's these two photos, and they're both preprints," meaning that the autograph was printed at the same time with the photo. Now, other things you can get. We covered the secretarial, we covered the preprint. There's also the auto pen. So the auto pen is basically you have a machine with a little arm that moves around, and it's on a pre-programmed track, basically, and it uses a real pen onto your photo or whatever photo they have, and it just traces the signature out. So those can look quite nice and look quite deceiving because it is using live ink. They can put anything they want under there. So if you send your own photo, they can put your photo under this machine, and it'll sign using a real pen on there. So that's called an auto pen. So you got to watch out for that. And how do you tell if they're using an auto pen or not? There's basically a couple things. Like the dead giveaway is like, let's say we're talking about Jack Black here. If you get a response from Jack Black and you think it's an auto pen, you can look at, this is where the community is really comes in handy, because you look at some of the other responses from through the mail autograph collectors, and if they have another photo from Jack Black and the signature is like identical, like it matches up perfectly, like if you were to overlay them, it would be an exact match, then that's a dead giveaway that it's an auto pen, because the machine is on using a set pattern and it's signing the same way every time. Now, it's not to say that someone might not have a couple of different variations, but I mean, usually people don't have, like someone like Johnny Depp, he does auto pen signatures. I think he has like a couple different variations. Like he'll do the signature, and there'll even be like he'll do some inscriptions on there from the auto pen machine, and there might be a couple of different inscriptions that he'll send out. So there's some variation within there, but like you can still match it up with other known examples like pretty perfectly, and that's just like a dead giveaway. If you don't have anything to compare it to, sometimes one of the giveaways for an auto pen is that the pen will sometimes pause at the start or the end of a letter, and it'll create like a little pool of ink there where the pen was laid for a little bit longer than other parts of the line. So you can see these little dots at the start and the end of a letter where they terminate or begin. And that can be a giveaway of an auto pen for sure. So basically comparative analysis and the way that the ink flows. And then also, like, because it's on a track, it's going to be doing the writing at the same speed. If the ink looks really, really super even, that could be a sign of an auto pen as well. So, you just gotta do some due diligence when you get your stuff back. Do some examinations of it and see if you think it's real or not. And if you don't know anything about it, just post a picture of it in the Tales from the Collection group on Facebook. You can get some opinions that way. So that's a pretty good way of going about it. And Nathan says, "You're my favorite celebrity on TikTok." Oh, thank you. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah. So, I mean, I like to write to the celebrities. I wish I was a celebrity myself, but unfortunately, not so much. Um, Nathan also said, I sent Bill and Ted trading card to Alex Winter to his P.O. box last week. He's my favorite actor. Oh, well, definitely good luck with that for sure. Just give it some time. I don't know, Nathan, if you looked up anything about like how often he replies or anything, but besides from my site, a good resource is startiger.com. It is a subscription service, but it's like super cheap. It's not a whole lot. They have a pretty good community there too. It's one of the resources that I recommend because it gets fairly often updated, and the community is good. Like the users themselves can update posts and add addresses and provide feedback and stuff. So that's a pretty good indication, like if other people on there are getting responses, and it even includes like response time, how long it took, because they'll do the when they sent it a lot of the time and when they got it back. So it gives you kind of an idea of like how fast these people respond. So that should give you an idea of how long you should probably expect to wait. And if you find yourself waiting for longer than the average, then maybe it's time to consider sending again to maybe a different address, seeing if you can find a different address. All right. Chris with another good question. Does anyone charge for through the mail autographs? Yeah, sometimes they do. I'd say like 95% of the people that sign through the mail do not charge. And generally the people who do charge, they're not charging like the convention prices. It's like $20 or so usually. Like through the mail is like a totally different game than buying autographs at conventions and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not nearly as expensive, and it's often pretty affordable. And the only people who like regularly charge or are Broadway theaters. So if you're writing to someone on Broadway, because like a lot of times people want to do this, just Broadway fans will want to do this on their own, right? But a lot of people through the mail autograph collecting hobby will write to Broadway because some of the big celebrities will actually do appearances on Broadway. So this is like another via venue thing. Just like when you send to a movie set, you can also send to them via the theater where they're going to be performing a Broadway play. So some big names that have done Broadway are like Scarlett Johansson, Uma Thurman, Adam Driver, Natalie Portman. Like tons of like screen actors will also go onto the stage, and that's the perfect time to write to them. A lot of these people, like if you send to the stage manager, the person who kind of runs the production, and you ask for like a signed playbill, sometimes they'll do it for free. Sometimes we'll get a letter back saying, hey, would you please make a donation of like $40 to Broadway Cares, which is like a charity for, I think, fighting AIDS. So yeah, sometimes you'll get a letter back saying, hey, can you please make a donation, which is fine. Usually it's not very much typically. So if someone asks for a donation or to pay for the autograph, then I'm usually pretty happy to do it, because in the through the mail hobby, the prices are still very reasonable, especially considering how much they are at a convention. But like I said, like I've gotten I just purchased an autograph from Elizabeth Olsen because she's doing a convention here in July, but I've gotten one free from her through the mail. So while she's charging people $250 for an autograph at the convention, she has been known to sign for free. So just because they charge at these events and stuff doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be charging through the mail when you write them. So that's pretty cool. All right. So Nathan has another question. How do you send mail on set to celebrities? So basically the format of it is all basically the same. You're still sending your letter, with your just introduction, talking about why you're a fan and requesting an autograph. You're sending it inside an envelope with their address, your return address, and a stamp, and then another envelope inside with your address as the destination, the return envelope, and also some postage on there. So like what goes into the request is all the same. Basically, the only difference is the address. So instead of sending to an agency or sending to someone's home, that kind of thing, you're sending to a production studio. And how I get those is I subscribe to a service. It's a very expensive service. It's like $700 a year. But I'm in a group with like 30 other collectors, so we split the cost of it, and it makes it a lot more affordable. But how you can do that is a lot of these productions I will write about on talesfromthecollection.com. Like if there's a movie coming out, usually with like a big name actor that's in development, just go to the website. You can actually browse like production news on there, and you can see when the movie is going to be filming and when it's going to be wrapping, usually if I have that information, as well as the address for the production studio. So basically, yeah, you just need to know when the filming starts. And if I don't have it on there, usually you can go to IMDb as well. IMDb has the status of every production. So if it says it's in development, like the movie hasn't started filming yet, then you don't want to write to the set, right? Because the actors aren't there. So you only want to write to the set when the actors are there, when it's actually filming. And then, so if you write when it's in development, it's too early. If you write after, when it's in post-production, after the filming has wrapped, then it's too late. So you want to get somewhere in that golden spot where the cameras are rolling, the celebrity's on set, and you want to get your letter in at that time. And with any luck, you'll send it to the studio, and one of the secretaries or whoever at the studio will pass it on directly to the celebrity, and they'll respond to you there. So yeah, that's basically how Via Venue works. And a lot of films now, like California used to be where everything was filmed, and now filming has gone for many projects has gone out of state or even out of country. So there's a lot of stuff that's actually filmed out of country, and that presents a bit of an extra challenge because you can't use U.S. postage when you're sending out of the country. So you put U.S. postage on the envelope to go out, but then when it comes back, if they're in Canada, for example, your U.S. postage is no good in Canada, so they have to use Canadian postage. So that can present a bit of a problem because unless you have Canadian postage, you're making it more hard on them to get it back to you if you don't include the postage on there already. So some countries like Canada, the UK, they actually will send stamps internationally. So best practice is actually to go to the Canada Post or the Royal Mail, order your stamps, have them ship Canadian or British stamps to you in the US, and then you can put those stamps on your envelope when you're sending it out. So if you're writing to movie sets, a lot of times you're actually going to be writing out of the country. And there's like some movies that like Gladiator 2, which is going to be filmed in Morocco. So that's going on right now. And I wrote a letter there, and I don't have any Moroccan stamps, and I don't think I'm able to get my hands on any either. So that's a scenario where I'm just like sending out my envelope with no return postage and just kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that I'm going to get a response back, that they're going to be kind enough to provide the postage from Morocco to send it back to the US. And that's just a gamble. Like it reduces the likelihood that I'm going to get a reply. But I've had it happen plenty of times where I didn't have postage for that country and I still get a reply anyway because they provide the postage themselves. So even if you don't have the postage, I still say give it a try. Like it's not impossible that you'll get a response. Any interesting learning experiences from the hobby? Anything only experience could teach? Yeah. I mean, I think basically just I would say not everything, not all the addresses are necessarily going to be provided to you. Sometimes if you do like enough internet research, like you can do some sleuthing and using resources like there's one called Open Corporates, which has a bunch of corporate information. So someone like Selena Gomez, she's she's of course an actress and a singer, but she's also a business owner. So she owns like a number of businesses, and there's a ton of celebrities who own businesses. Whether it's like someone like Jessica Alba, who owns the Honest Company, where she like makes a bunch of baby products, or it can be someone like Robert Rodriguez, who owns a production company. So he's a director, but he owns his own company. So that company has business information, and you can use a website like Open Corporates, which basically just you're basically just searching public record, and you can find addresses and information on there that maybe someone hasn't posted already on like one of the common forums for autograph collecting and through the mail autograph collecting. So yeah, don't be afraid to go out there and try and find something that's not out there and just test a new address, because a lot of times you can have some good success that way. And sometimes simply for the fact that it's untested and hasn't been flooded with mail can be something that really helps you, because you're going to be one of the first people to actually use that address. So try and get creative and think about different ways you can get in contact with people. Don't just go off of what is provided to you, because that might not necessarily be everything that's out there. So I'd say that's a good pro tip. So there's other stuff like I've definitely had. So it depends on what you want to send out, right? If you want to send out photos, I would say, or even like trading cards. Nathan said you do trading cards. So if you're doing a trading card through the mail, like you're definitely tempted to stick it into a sleeve and then stick it into a top loader so that the card is protected in the mail and doesn't get bent up. But I've long since stopped doing that, because I've had a lot of people, either one, it gets actually ironically gets messed up through the mail sorter, because these letters go through a machine and it's automated, and sometimes like having just the thicker case for a card just winds up getting the letter basically torn up a little bit, whereas if it was without a case, it would have gone through the machine nice and smooth and easy. So that's one reason I don't use those top loaders. Another one is that the celebrity, rather than, and some of these people, especially if they're older, it can be harder to get your fingers into those like little top loaders and all that and get the card out. So they'll just sign on the top loader itself, which is like the worst when you get it back. So rather than having the card destroyed in the mail or having somebody sign the top loader, what I'll typically do is I might still include a top loader, but rather than putting the card inside of it, I'll just use a little bit of painter's tape, which like is usually pretty safe. It won't like take any of the paper off or like do any tears or anything. I'll just kind of adhere, like do like a little bit of a corner of painter's tape onto the card just to stick it on there, and that'll keep it safe sometimes, and will at least not cause the celebrity to sign the protector. So that's definitely a good tip. And same thing with photos. I usually use like an 8x10 piece of cardboard and just use the painter's tape trick on that as well. And then the painter's tape just comes off perfectly off of a photo. It doesn't destroy it at all. It's really like the adhesive is gentle on there. So you don't have to worry about destroying the photo with a tape. And then, even with just like a little piece of cardboard, like I very rarely have the photos come back damaged. And I mean, I suppose that's going to depend on what kind of mailbox you have. Like the ones I have in my community, they're wide, they're narrow and flat. But like, I suppose if you had like, one of the old fashioned like mailboxes that are kind of taller than they are wide, that could present some problems, like because you're probably going to get the mailman folding your photos a lot more often than I would, because mine just go in there flat perfect. So it's often like in the last mile that your stuff gets destroyed, which is always sad. So that's something to consider, I suppose. Let's see, what else would be good pro tip? I would definitely just check out what's on Broadway, because I know there's a couple productions. Let me see. I know I got a couple right now. There's some good names. Like I recently got Hugh Jackman via Broadway because he was doing The Music Man, and I mean, I guess this is probably pretty perfect for you, Chris, being in New York. I mean, that's just down the street. So, and that's actually like a really good place to get autographs. Like people wait at the stage door. And when the production is over and the celebrities come out, that's like a huge place to get autographs. And there's always like some celebrity who is doing a play at any given time in New York. Like that's just been given. So let's see. I know To Kill a Mockingbird is currently going on right now at the Gielgud Theater, I guess. And let's see. To Kill. And that's Matthew Modine. So he's going to be in that play, and that's currently going on right now. So he's Papa from Stranger Things. So if you're a Stranger Things fan, I would definitely try and write To Kill a Mockingbird. And usually what I'll do is I write one letter to the celebrity that I'm trying to get, in this case, Matthew Modine, but then I'll also write to the stage manager, and I'll request like a signed playbill by the cast. So sometimes if the individual actor is not too keen on signing, a lot of the times the stage manager will have a pretty good success rate of getting like playbill signed, not only by the main lead actor, but by the entire cast. So I have like 2 smaller binders like full of playbills that I've gotten that way, just with like a lot of them with full cast signatures on them from writing to the stage manager. So that's a pretty good pro tip there. Yeah, so Matthew Modine, and then who else is on Broadway right now? Let's see. Oops. New York. Oh, Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac's in New York. He's doing The Sign in Sydney Brustein's Window. So he would definitely be a good person to write to. And in fact, I have seen a number of people getting responses from him. So I know for a fact he is signing. And some like these kinds of things where it's like a limited window, I would make this like a priority, right? Like this should be the next letter that you send out if you're any kind of a Star Wars fan and you like Oscar Isaac, or you liked him in the MCU. I would make this your next letter because he's not going to be on Broadway forever. And the longer he's on there, the more people are going to write to him. And sometimes at the beginning of a production, the celebrities, they're quite good at signing and responding to fan mail. But as the production goes on, like after he's been on stage for a couple of months, he might be less inclined to respond to fans as the volume increases. Because every time he responds to fan mail and somebody posts that online, 5 more people are going to see it, and 5 more people are going to send. They're going to post about it, and it's kind of going to be a little bit of a cascade effect. So with some of these things, the earlier you can get in on it, the better, because a lot of times there's a limit to the generosity when doing this, because it can get a little bit tiresome. So yeah, there you go. All right, let's see. Sweet Cat says, can you tell me about the new thing on your website? I was just watching a little bit of it. So I'm posting new things on the website like every day. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but maybe like one of the recent innovations I've had is I don't know how familiar you guys are with AI and like ChatGPT and all that, but I did create a web app that uses the ChatGPT API. So it's basically through talesfromthecollection.com, you can use ChatGPT through a series of prompts that will help you generate a fan letter. So basically, you can type in what like you're interested in about the celebrity, like what work of theirs that they liked, that you like. You can provide a little anecdote about whatever, say basically whatever you want to say in the letter. Just plug in those ideas, and then it'll generate a fan letter for you. So for example, if I'm writing to Harrison Ford, I might say, for the prompt, I might say, talk about Star Wars and Indiana Jones and you can go into detail, as much detail as you want. You can leave it simple like that, and then it'll generate a fan letter, or you can go into something more specific, like talk about how when I was a kid, I really liked Indiana Jones, and I dressed up as Indiana Jones for Halloween, and blah blah blah. You can go in as in depth or as broad as you want, really. So it's all up to you. And if it basically just helps you put your ideas into there, and then puts it into a nice format for you. So if you're not used to writing fan mail, this can be a good place to start and kind of get the ideas generating. And then, eventually you can just continue doing this, or you can use it as a jumping off point to start editing and adding your own flavor, and eventually creating your own unique letters. But there's some people who have certain disabilities or whatnot, and I have one person on my Facebook group who they're blind, and it's really hard for them to write fan mail, but they told me that using this program has really helped them a lot, because it's made the process simpler, and they can make the letters a lot easier. So not only is it like a time-saving thing, but I think it's a accessibility thing as well. And it's not like a fan mail generator that you might think of, where you just put in a name and it just spits out some generic thing, because you can make it specific and you can make it say what you want to say. But if you don't have a way with words, it'll do a pretty good job of writing a nice sounding, cohesive, coherent letter that sounds good and has your own kind of thoughts and feelings in it. So if you go to talesfromthecollection.com, I have a link to it in the footer of the website. You can just go to the fan mail generator there. You can try it. It's not free to me. I have to pay for this thing, because it's a service to make this app, but it's free to you. So that's just something I offer to my viewers and readers, something that I think is a really good service. And every time you generate a letter on there, I'm kind of paying for it, but that's okay. Feel free to use it as much as you like. Share it to whoever you like. It's there as a way for me to give back to people who visit the site and view my content like you guys. So definitely use it for sure. If you just search Tales from the Collection on Facebook, then you can find I have a page as well as a group. If please join both. I post whenever I have a new article posted onto Tales from the Collection, whether it's like a new contact page, like I do individual contact posts showing all the contact information for a specific celebrity, or if it's a production update showing production addresses for new movies and TV shows, or anything like that, I'll usually post it right to the page. And then the group is more for if you need help with the hobby, like if you have a question, that kind of thing, and there's more of a community there that can help you out with that kind of stuff. So I would say definitely join both. Both of them offer a little bit different resources for you, for sure. Then other than that, as far as video content, I do have some longer form stuff on my YouTube, which is just under the same name, Tales from the Collection. I do about a month ago, I started with my friends a bit of a podcast talking about all things autograph related. So you can find me on there as well. But definitely as far as social media goes, my biggest following is here on TikTok, which is stubbornly under 10,000 people. It's been in the 9,000s for the longest time, and doesn't really want to move too much. But so there's that. And when I'll be going to Comicpalooza in Houston, I think that's next week. So I'll be doing some live streams there, walking the convention floor, and giving you guys a peek into what the convention looks like. Hopefully I can get some good shots of the celebrities having nice interactions with the fans. For some reason, they denied my press pass. Comicpalooza did, despite me getting press passes to much bigger conventions with much better guest lists in the past. I think I posted some stuff about the guest list, which was unflattering, and I think that might have had an impact on them not giving me a guest pass. to the convention, but that's okay. I'm still going to go there because I already got my hotel room booked and it's not refundable. So I'm definitely going there. And I'm going to do some recording while I'm there, and it should be a good time nonetheless. I've got some friends going. So yeah, it'll be a good time, and I'll take you guys along with me if you can catch me for a live while I'm there. I'll be there next Friday and Saturday of next week. And then that'll be it for conventions for a while, because I was supposed to go to one in June in Dallas, which is like a really big one with a great guest list. But I'll be in Hawaii during that time, which I guess I can't complain about too much. But while I'm there, they are doing some productions in Hawaii right now, including a live action Lilo and Stitch movie. So